Commissioner Zarges,
Here.
Commissioner Acosta, Chair Zerniak.
Here. Lynn, can you hear us okay? Can we, we're not going to be able to hear him.
Will, would you be able to see if we can turn the volume louder?
Sorry. He's got it.
Lynn, go ahead and test your bike. Can you turn it up at your end?
We can hear him up here at the podium.
Oh,
It sounds like it's coming from the podium.
Conversation.
There you go.
Good, thank you.
Okay.
Thanks. Are there any changes to the agenda? So I need a motion to approve.
Move to approve the agenda as presented.
I've read it, yes.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. I need a motion for approval or any changes or edits to the minutes of October 26th.
I'll move approval of the minutes with one change, and that's that it should be Lynn Underwood, not Billy Underwood in the minutes.
Eileen, did you get that? Okay.
I move to approve the minutes as amended.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. I believe there's no old business, correct? So we'll move to case number SU 23-025.
Good morning. Please state your name and address for the record.
Christopher Valencia, 845 North Motel Boulevard.
Do you affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth under penalty of law?
I do.
Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners, Chair. Staff is recommending case number 5A SU 23-025 be moved to be approved administratively if there were no opposition in the audience this morning. Staff sent out the incorrect public notification sign. It was for a public hearing instead of a administrative case. Of course, that would be approved if there were no oppositions. There were no letters of opposition received for the first case, unless there were any constituents that did show up this morning.
Is there anyone present in opposition to this case? No. Okay.
Great. Then, do we still need to take a vote? Well, of course, we still do. Then, what's the next steps on our end? Just allow y'all to,
Somebody has to move.
somebody has to move?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve case number SU 23-025 as presented by staff.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion approved, 4-0.
Great. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Commissioners.
Next case, Z 23-014.
Good morning. Please state your name and address for the record.
Charlene Sanchez Esteban, 845 North Motel Boulevard, Las Cruces, New Mexico.
Do you affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth under penalty of law?
Yes.
Thank you.
Good morning. This case is brought to you by the applicant, Mr. Boyd Welsh, and his father by the same name, 813 Morton Lane. Its zoning is a C2 commercial, community commercial. The zone changed from a C2 to a D2 on 2 parcels totaling 1.77 acres. The parcels are 0.75 acres and 1.02 acres. The 3/4 acre lot has a double wide, an existing double wide on the property. The 1.02 acre is vacant, and the owner wants to place a mobile home on the parcel. I don't know why it isn't working. This is the location map. It's on Picacho as you're coming down the hill, coming towards Las Cruces. And this is the aerial photo of the area. The existing C2 commercial allows for retail and personal services and some commercial resident, recreational uses. The parcel is, with the existing mobile home, is a non-conforming use. And it has been zoned C2 since the ETZ, when it was EC2 and became C2 with the UDC, and has not developed as commercial. And the parcel has remained vacant. Sewer is provided by a septic tank, and water will be provided by a private well. This is the project site plan. This is the proposal from the applicant. This is the zoning map. And you see that all the C2 going west, coming up the hill, and then there's D2 all around it. This is the land use. And this is the subject property. It's vacant right now, and what you see, that building across is all the way across Highway 70. This is the property to the north, and that's the existing double wide. This is Morton Lane north, Morton Lane southwest. It's a kind of skewed property. And this is facing northeast to the property. And this is Highway 70. I took a picture from Highway 70 to show you that it does not even show from the highway. That property doesn't show. And this is the property across the street. We submitted 27 letters of notification. Legal ads were on October 17th. Legal ads were placed in the Sun News on October 18th. This is the notification map. We did not receive any letters of opposition or approval for this. And this is a sign and the other sign. The potential is for one additional home. Potential increase in population is one new resident or more. Demographics would be nil. Minimal impacts to traffic. No new commercial activity. Water is provided by a private well and septic tank will be installed. Morton Lane is a county-maintained road. The impact to the zoning, the surrounding area is mainly single-family owned properties. There will be minimal impact to the surrounding land use. The applicant will comply with building and development codes required for the mobile home installation. Decisional criteria, the cost of land is not considered for this zone change. The applicant is requesting a zone change that would be homogeneous to the existing single-family residential use. The area is buffered by a downslope from US Highway 70, and Morton Lane creates an island between the two streets to make the double-wide home, and it would make the zone change would make the double-wide home conforming. The comprehensive plan is G2.2, ensure regulations support the plan requirements. A 2.2, update codes to provide tools to support an appropriate physical structure. This is the Miller criteria, and I applied B, sufficient change of conditions making the zone change reasonably necessary to protect the public interest. The parcels have not developed as commercial, and the property is better suited to residentially zoned parcels. And C, a different land use category is more advantageous to the community. The requested zone change is not in conflict with the comprehensive plan or any other adopted plans. The D2 zoning allows mobile homes and will be compatible with the adjacent residential land uses. There's not a mistake. There's a change or mistake. Failure to change the zone district would deprive the owner of some economic, feasible, and similar use of property to existing surrounding compatible development. The zone change does not require any kind of expenditure from the county. The zone change is not dependent on a collector or major thoroughfare. It is not strip zoning, it is not spot zoning. The zone change is not considered spot zone. The findings, the property is outside of any incorporated municipal zoning authority. The request of the application is consistent with the requirements of the UDC. The zone change is for a residential district, does satisfy the decisional criteria. The zone change to a D2 district would not be considered spot zoning. The zone change is not in conflict with the comprehensive plan. Therefore, staff recommendations based on the findings of fact, analysis, and agency comments, we recommend approval of Z 23014.
So in terms of the Miller criteria, what are you basing the recommendation on?
That it was zoned as commercial, has not developed in commercial in all these years that it's been commercial. So in order to conform to residential, everything's residential around it. So it'd be better suited for the owner to have it as D2 and develop it as residential.
So can you go back to the zoning map for just a second?
Sure.
So just so I'm clear on this, you're saying that the current zoning is defective? Because that's what applies to.
Exactly. Yes, it has not developed as a commercial.
Okay, okay.
Wow.
Any other questions? Should we hear from the applicant,
Yes, he's here.
please?
Yes, sir.
Morning.
Morning.
We need to swear you in.
Good morning. Please state your name and address for the record.
Boyd Welch, 515 Larkspur Way.
Do you affirm the testimony you're about to give today is the truth under penalty of law?
Yes.
Thank you.
I just wanted to see if you had anything to add.
No, had this land, I want to put a trailer house on it and put my daughter in it.
Okay. Any questions? Lynn, anything?
No, I have no questions at this point. Thank you.
Okay, Bill. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there anyone here in opposition to this case? No. Close it to the public. I'll hear a motion.
I'll move approval of case Z 23, I'm sorry, SU 23-0, no, that's not,
No, that's,
grabbed the wrong one. Z 23-014, zone change from C2 community commercial to D2 medium duty residential to allow mix of housing options.
I second that motion.
any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying, oh, no, excuse me. Call the roll, please. I'm sorry.
Commissioner Underwood,
Yes.
Commissioner Lear,
Yes.
Commissioner Zargis,
Yes.
Chair Zerniak.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
We're going to move to Z 23-015.
Good morning. Please state your name and address for the record.
Charlene 77, 845 North Motel Boulevard, Las Cruces, New Mexico.
And do you affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth under penalty of law?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
This case is for a zone change also, and the owner is Nathaniel Sales Salcido, the owner, and Anton Magianes is the agent. The location is in Chaparral on the corner of Edna Drive and Butler Hills Road. The current zoning is T2. The zone changes from a T2 to a T3 on one parcel of property totaling 5.395 acres to subdivide the property into possibly 5 lots. This is location map. This is the aerial photo. And this is 2018. The applicant is requesting a zone change from T2 to T3. It's rural in nature, and the T2 allows for 2-acre minimum lot sizes. The applicant initially stated they were subdividing into 3 lots, but subsequently changed to 5 lots, slightly larger than 1.0 acre lot sizes. The T3 zone allows for 6,000 square feet lots with sewer. A minimum lot size of 0.75 is required for a septic tank. Water is provided by Lake Section Water Company, and septic tanks will be installed. Upon conducting a site inspection, the entire 5.395 acre parcel has been graded. Our records do not show a grading and grubbing permit was issued. A triple fee will be required for grading and grubbing permit. This is the proposed site plan. This is the letter. Zoning map. The land use. This is the subject property looking east. This is the subject property looking south. This is Butler Heights Road, and it's a gravel road. It's graded and gravelled. And this is Edna Drive South. And this is the property across the street facing west on Edna Drive. This is the property across the street on Butler Heights North. And this is the property, contiguous property south of in its large lots. We sent out 21 letters of notification on October 17th, and legal ads were placed in the Sun News on October 18th. This is the notification map. And this is a sign, the sign, first sign, and this is the second sign. 5 parcels are proposed for an addition of 5 homes. Potentially increase to population would be 2 person or more per household per lot. Demographics minimum. Impact of traffic could increase by 10 trips per day per household for a total of 50 trips per day. There is a need for residential housing, and this proposal will fill a need for a site-built or mobile home in each lot. No commercial activity is proposed. Water is provided by Lake Section Water. Edna Drive is a county-maintained paved road. Butler Heights is a graded gravel county-maintained road. There are no environmentally sensitive species. The surrounding area is mainly single-family owned properties. There are smaller lots on the Edna Drive, on the side of Edna Drive, and larger lots on the east of Edna Drive and south. The applicant will comply with building and development codes required for the mobile home. Well, excuse me, it's not, it's just for homes. The cost of land is not speculation. The zone change request for a higher density zoning with a capacity of 6,000 square foot lots with community sewer or 0.75 acre parcels with septic. The applicant is requesting a zone change for a use that is existing across Edna Drive with single-family residential land uses. The properties to the north and east are larger lot sizes with single-family residential land uses. Comprehensive plan, G2.2, ensure regulations support the plan requirements. A 2.2, update codes to provide tools to support an appropriate physical structure. Decisional criteria, I have again applied B. The proposal for the property is subdivided into 5 parcels. The surrounding parcels to the west developed as smaller lot sizes and are allowed by T2 zone, and there is allowed by T3 zone, excuse me, and there is a need for smaller lot sizes due to population growth and affordability in this community. The requested zone change is not in conflict with the comprehensive plan or any adopted plans. The T3 allows for a higher density residential land use. There is no change mistake. Failure to change the zone district would deprive the owner of some economic, feasible, and similar use of the properties to existing surrounding compatible development. The change will clearly facilitate realization of the comprehensive plan. The proposed zone change does not require capital expenditures by the county. The zone change is not dependent on a collector or major thoroughfare. It is not strip zoning and is not spot zoning. The zone change is not considered spot zoning. There's compatible T3 zoning across from the property on Edna Drive. The findings, we have the authority to hear this case. We've met all the requirements for the UDC, and it does satisfy the request for residential zoning criteria. The zoning district would not be considered spot zoning and is not in conflict with the comprehensive plan. Staff recommends approval of case Z 23.015 with conditions. From a T2 to a T3, conditions: a grading and drainage plan must be submitted within 30 days of this public hearing. A grading permit is required. A triple fee will be assessed.
Questions?
Mr. Chair, I have a question, if I may, of staff, and it's purely for my edification. Staff, how did you come up with the 10 trips per day per household number? Is something somewhere in law that I don't know about, or was it just as an estimate?
It's just an estimate of trips per day of what
Okay.
a household would make back and forth, going to school, going to work, picking up laundry, things like that.
Okay, all right. Then the second question I would have is, I understand that at this point, the zoning is very similar to the one across the street.
Yes.
But what happens if the remaining surrounding land that is still zoned the way it is now, what if it is actually used as that commercial usage? Is that in some way impact either use?
The properties are contiguous to it are large lots. They're T2, they're 2-acre lot minimum, and they are very large lots gated in and developed that way. The
Okay.
T3 is on the other side of of Edna Drive.
Okay, then if commercial moves in and the person that is using this particular lot at that time doesn't want commercial to move in, they don't really have any choice.
Well, the proposal isn't for commercial, it's for residential
Alright.
use, and it's
Yeah, I
for,
know, but the remaining surrounding contiguous land, that's what I meant.
oh,
If they,
I don't know if they're going to develop it as commercial. I do not know if that's a proposal that they have or not. I thought it was just for residential use. But they could potentially increase the lot size if they have community sewer to 39 lots if they wanted to make a subdivision there. If not, they can make 7 3/4 acre lots on there, but they're proposing 5.
okay, I understand. Thank you very much. Thank you, Chair.
So does the county have a copy of the Institute of Transportation Engineers Trip Generation Handbook?
The engineering department does. We do not go by that. So we consult with them with that, with any transportation.
I mean, that's where you would get the trip generation for houses, for
Okay.
residential uses.
I will look at that.
I wouldn't guess at it. That's not a good idea.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
And the Miller criteria, let's go back to that for a second. What's the change in, are you saying there's a change in condition?
There's a change in condition that they want to, well, the owner wants to divide the property into 5 parcels. Initially, it was 3 parcels, so they want to develop it into 5 parcels. So that's the change in condition, is what they want to subdivide it, to make it affordability to the community and provide more housing.
I don't think the change of condition can come from the applicant.
Okay,
Right.
I think the change in condition is the population growth of Chaparral and the demand.
and that definitely is happening there. Mhm.
Eileen, will you make sure that gets on the record, that the change in condition is population growth at Chaparral?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I just want, it's real touchy. I mean, I don't think there's opposition, but we have to be careful about that.
Well, I do have that in there, that due to population growth and affordability in the community,
Yep.
so.
Any other questions?
Mr. Chair, I have a
Yes,
question.
Dan.
My question It doesn't have anything to do with the decision we're going to make. I just
Yes.
was wondering, considering where this is, it's going to be divided into 5 lots. What kind of access is there going to be to Edna Road? I mean, are we talking about 5 driveways? Or is this going to be a single, I'm just curious as to, when you're looking at traffic on that road.
Right. I do not know. I don't know what the plan is for that. I just have a conceptual plan. So that's more for the applicant and the agent to answer. I don't know where they're going to have their access from. I know Edna Drive, most of those properties have access from Edna Drive or Butler Heights.
Okay.
Chair,
Wouldn't,
Albert?
just real quick, so right now, we're just talking about the zone
zoning.
change itself.
yeah.
If it
Yeah.
gets approved, they still have to apply for a summary subdivision. At that point, it'll go to engineering, flood, fire marshal for review. Typically, when it comes to, multiple lots accessing a county-maintained road, there's a few options. I don't think they'll give a driveway permit to each lot, but what they've been, what I've seen in other applications, it's a shared access.
Okay.
So there's 5 lots, so maybe at the most, they'll probably be able to get 2 or 3 driveways permits from there.
Okay. Thank you.
wouldn't that be answered, if we approve this, one of the conditions is a grading plan and stuff, wouldn't that include where the driveways were and stuff like that? Wouldn't that solve that question?
If the commission feels that that's necessary, yes, but like I said, I mean, engineering would be the one to probably, best make that call
It
on.
really comes under the subdivision. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Applicant present?
Good morning. Please state your name and address for the record.
Anton Magallanes, 1985, Calle de Colón, Mesilla, New Mexico, 88046.
Do you affirm the testimony you're about to give today is the truth on our penalty of law?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Another zone change. Yeah, unfortunately, the owner of the property couldn't be here today. He had a work trip that took him out to a different location. But Mr. Salas is proposing a 5-lot subdivision pending the approval of this zone change. I think I passed the zone change map, sorry. Maybe not. Is it to the reason I want to pull up the zone change map, there you go. Kind of interesting, because again, we're running into this situation where we're seeing Chaparral grow. I mean, it's undeniable. So I think the responsible thing is to try and consider how we're going to help it grow responsibly with the infrastructure that it currently has, which is a good conversation to have with the utility departments in the area, specifically water. So water is the one that's going to really help direct this growth in Chaparral, because we have a great relationship with Bobby over at Lake Section Water Company, and she actually states that she does not want to see lots smaller than 1 acre per meter. And so even though we can potentially go smaller to a 3/4 acre size, I've had her tell me for other customers, they cannot subdivide because their water system wasn't built with the capacity to have 3/4 or smaller than what would be 1 acre lots. So I appreciate that she's being mindful of that, because she recognizes the needs of the community, but also recognizing the constraints that her water company has. 5-lot subdivision, you'll see if we skip that block, so we have Butler Heights north of us, we have Edna on the west, and then, I don't remember, there's a street that's just south of that block, and then we see some smaller lots that are also shaded T2, but they're clearly less than 2 acre minimum. We created non-conforming lots back in the day is what was happening, because our development code allowed us to do a claim of exemption in a filed subdivision. And so prior to that amendment that we had in 2021, people were doing claim of exemptions all throughout the community in these subdivisions that should have been a replat. So a replat doesn't allow us to go smaller than 2 acres. The claim of exemption does. And so that's how we see all of these non-conforming lots littered all over the place. I like to take a look at this map and think, if they would have gone through the right process and zone changed it, this map would look a little bit different for sure. So it helps support the idea that we're really in alignment with what this portion of Chaparral would look like if we had to have replatted lots, which would have required us to zone change lots at the first time, in the first place. For instance, those string of, what is it? 1, 2, 3, like 5 or 6 or 7. We did that claim of exemption for Nathaniel Salas. So I appreciate what he's actually doing, because we don't really get involved so much with after he's completed his build, but I did the surveys on those properties, and he was actually owner financing them to people within the community, which is really hard to see sometimes because people want their money in to get out. So I was really appreciative that he's willing to option, and again, not that that's neither here nor there, but it shows his commitment, in my opinion, to the community. He has talked with Bobby, again, with Lake Section Water, to say, are you okay with us doing 5 1-acre lots? She supports that. Again, they'll have whatever they need to for the subdivision process. And yeah, I think Albert nailed it right with what he said regarding access. You know, it's interesting because a 50-foot road is the smallest road that we build in a subdivision. And we see those driveways being back to back to back. If we were to go build a 50-foot road today, we're gonna see driveway after driveway after driveway. I don't know, I don't remember off the top of my head if this is a 50-foot road or a little bit wider, but I think it actually could support multiple driveways, because we see all the properties to the west having multiple driveways. And we remember these are 1-acre lots, so that width is probably a good 75, 80 feet, if not more. But in other words, you know, it's in alignment with what I think the community needs. It supports, I think your statement regarding the Mueller is correct. It's more of a change to the existing environment that we're seeing with Chaparral, with their growth needed, and how are we working to support that. So circumstances have changed environmentally or physically, characteristically maybe, within Chaparral. So I think this supports that, but I'd be happy to answer any questions you all have.
Bill, you okay? Lynn, any questions?
No questions. No questions. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Anyone in opposition?
Yes, sir. We have Oren Hudspeth. Good morning. Please state your name and address for the record.
Orrin Hudspeth, 109 Butler Heights Road, Chaparral, New Mexico.
Do you affirm the testimony you're about to give is is the truth under penalty of law?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to speak on this issue. I'm speaking today in opposition to this hearing requesting to change the parcel in question from T2 rural plot of land to a T3 neighborhood edge plot of land. There are concerns of safety with this proposition, mainly in regards to the eventual plans for this parcel of land and the flow of traffic in the area. My understanding is multiple houses are intended to be built on this land, as this is allowed on the T3 parcel of land. It's obvious that our sheriff's department cannot be everywhere at once. That means some areas of our town simply cannot be policed consistently. This has led to many people going well over the speed limit of 25 miles per hour that's in place on Edna Drive. The speeding, which is normally a mild nuisance, is a cause for great concern with this proposition, because eventual higher density of people living in an area means eventual higher likelihood for someone to get hurt or worse due to a traffic mishap. This is compounded by the fact that on the east side of Edna, the primary road that these houses are intended to build on, there's a 12-foot gap from the fence line of all the houses on the road to the east side compared to the 38 feet of space from the fence line to the road on the west side of the accommodations. It's no secret that celebrating with many friends, having parties in life will inevitably lead to vast number of vehicles being parked in front of these houses. I live on Butler Heights Road, which intersects Edna. Prior to the clearing of the land in the area, it was nigh impossible to see around the foliage. Near misses and people honking the horns at each other became the norm. Now, with the proposed use for the land that will likely become a reality, and with more people living in the area comes the propensity for more people to do more speeding and inevitably lead to unwelcome injury or worse. I don't want to see anything like that have outlined to happen. I believe that keeping the land at a T2 level and building fewer homes and parcels of land will be safer overall for our roads. Thank you for your time. I might also add, on Butler Heights Road and Eden Road, if you would, the difference in elevation, excuse me, is about 10 to 12 feet. And that Butler Heights Road where it intersects Edna, that's a steep hill coming down right there. The proposed property, I mean, where they're going to build is above the road base of Butler Heights Road, which would be on the north side of there. And it's just, when you drive out, the school bus stops up there at the corner of Edna. When you drive up that hill, used to, you couldn't look down the road and see anything because of the foliage. Now, if they're gonna build houses there, it's gonna be even worse. I think something should be done about that. If you look at the elevation of Butler Heights Road and the elevation of Edna Road, you'll see what I mean about the hill coming down. And it's a short hill. It's maybe in 50 feet, it drops probably 8 feet. So.
Is that true for the entire length of that property?
No. You mean the property that they're gonna build on?
Yeah, that's adjacent to Edna.
Yes. You mean the fence line with the proposed? Yeah, the fence line to the road was 12 feet. And on the opposite side of the road, I measured it, it's 38 feet from their fence line. So could be a problem. You know, I hate to see anybody get hurt. I've lived out there for 35 years, you know, and I've dealt with this road going up when the Butler Heights Road, when the weather's bad, the roads are slick. You know, you have to get going up that hill, at least get your tires out on the asphalt or you're not coming up on the road. So I think that needs to be taken into consideration also, because coming from the south when all the traffic's gonna be, I don't know, but that's just my thoughts. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. Is that it, Eileen? Mr. Magallanes, did you want to comment?
So, yeah, there is, it's kind of a can of worms in some situation, because he is correct. Where the elevation of Edna is, there is a drop off to get then on and transition onto Butler Heights. These are 2 county maintained roads. So like the more we talk about that, regardless if this happens or not, if that's a concern, I think that's a great concern. It's going to get addressed at some point, at some time. And then regarding the fence line, I'm trying to make sure I understand this correctly. The fence line to maybe the center of the road on Butler may be different than the fence line to the center of the road to Edna. And that could be because they have different right-of-ways. So Edna might have an 80-foot road or an 80-foot right-of-way or a 60-foot right-of-way, where Butler Heights only has a 25. So the distance, I suspect that the fences are along the property lines, but the distance to the roads is because the actual width of the roads are different, in fact.
Do we know what the functional class is of Edna?
That's what I was actually just trying to pull up. More than likely, it's not going to be a minor arterial. If anything, it's going to be local or collector. Okay. And so we always see that as we increase our size, so our classification grows, mobility should increase, but access should decrease. And I think after collectors where we really start to see that. So with collectors, shared access becomes more of a conversation because we're trying to decrease access because we recognize it's a little larger. Local roads, they can all get their own. We would probably really always not want any access off of arterials if we could avoid it, of course.
Okay, thank you.
I might add.
Come on up to the mic, please.
what I was saying about on Edna, from the east side of the fence line on Edna to the road is 38 feet. Okay, on the west side, it is 12 feet. That's from the fence line to the edge of the road. He was saying Butler Heights. I wasn't talking about Butler Heights, I was talking about Edna.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Questions or comments from the commission? Lynn, anything?
No questions. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, I'm going to close it to public comment. I need a motion.
I'll make the motion for approval of case Z23-015, based on facts, finding of facts and staff analysis, plus the conditions as presented by the staff. I make a motion to approve that.
Second.
Okay. Well, we just lost Eileen. Did we lose Eileen? Okay.
Okay.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Commissioner Sargis,
Yes.
Commissioner Lear,
Yes.
Commissioner Underwood,
Yes.
and Vice Chair Zerniak.
Yes. Motion approved. Thank you. One more case, number V23-008.
Thank you, Bill.
Hold on, Krista, hold on just a second, okay?
Yes, sir.
Albert,
Thank you, Bill.
can you swear him in, please?
Here she comes.
Okay.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Christopher Valencia, 845 North Motel Boulevard.
Do you affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth under penalty of law?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners, Chair. Morning.
I just want to make a comment before you go on.
Yes, sir.
Sorry, just real quick. In case number SU 23-025, you didn't give any testimony, so we didn't swear you in.
Okay.
I just want that. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you. For our fourth case today, in the last case, we have 5D V23008. The owner applicant is Joel Pichardo Salas Singer. The representative is his son, Joel Pichardo Gallegos. The location is at 2900 Three Saints Road in Anthony, New Mexico. It's zoned at a T3, and the request is for a variance to the maximum size of the accessory dwelling. Here's the location map. Subject parcel is right there in the middle of this large field. Closest residence that we have is a mobile home park here, about 200 yards away. And here's the Rio Grande River right there. The land use aerial as well, showing the subject parcel right in the middle. And again, the mobile home park right there, and then all this other open agricultural land surrounded by. The property zoned is a T3 zone, is 0.7 acres. It was sold to the applicant and the spouse on July 21st of 2017. The assessor's office property card states that the existing primary dwelling that was built in 1900 is 2,253 square feet. There's a dilapidated shed or garage, it's about roughly 923 square feet, that's going to be demolished. The representative says to make room for a more modern garage that attaches to the accessory dwelling in discussion. The lot itself, about total square foot, is 30,928. It's 185 by 160, roughly. Here's the parcel close up. The This is from our GS department. You can see here, this is a Google Street View, and it shows a lot of the construction that's happened as well as the foundation of the accessory dwelling there on a more recent aerial. Here's the zoning map as well. We have all T2 surrounded by T2. The parcel itself is a T3, and here's the only mobile home park, and there's other T3 surrounding the parcel subject. We have a concept plan. The existing dwelling here and the proposed dwelling, the dotted line is the dilapidated shed that's going to be removed. There were 19 letters of notification that were sent out on October 16th this year. The legal ads were placed as well in the Las Cruces Sun on October 16th, and the signs were posted on the property in a timely manner. The agenda was also posted on the Doña County website. This is the area of notifications that were sent out. Easiest way we wrote this out is by writing a timeline to understand discovery. On September 13th, the applicant was denied an electrical permit by building services because the accessory dwelling was too large, we found out. Between the 13th and 22nd, we found on the Google Street image, an image from April 15th, that there was an unpermitted accessory dwelling past the initial stages of construction. In other words, it was pretty far down the line. On September 22nd, there was the representative, Joel Pichardo, visited the community development office for a pre-app. We sat down with him with planners. On the 6th of October, the applicant, his father and the brother did show up as well to the Doña County planners, and we did have an overview of the case. We talked about the importance of permits, and then there was no discussion of a rock wall that we found a little later. On the 17th, the codes enforcement took a picture out on the field showing a rock wall that was constructed on half of the property. It's roughly about 366 plus or minus feet. On the 24th of October, I received an email from EBID saying that the license for the culvert crossing needs to be updated. It expired in 2009. So there's another non-compliant issue. On the 27th of October, we had an electrical inspector visit the property and placed a red tag to stop work on the property and to inform the homeowners. The analysis we looked at, the basic request is that we're asking for a variance on the 1,497 square feet over the allotted size of 1,250. The accessory dwelling right now is at 2,747 square feet. On the 23rd of August, the representative filed for an electrical permit. After the review by the P&Z department, the permit was denied due to the proposed accessory dwelling being a lot larger than the 1,250 square feet allotted. This triggered an immediate Google Earth street view. So in other words, we jumped on Google Earth once we found this out, and that's when we saw the accessory dwelling. Well, after the framing and roofing and glazing phase, the next assumed phase would be the electrical, plumbing, and HVAC. So therefore, we wanted to hurry and step in and stop that. The planners representatives we did have two pre-app meetings, but on September, October, to discuss the permitting and next steps, and also to get the accessory dwelling under compliance and permitted. On the 17th of October, that's when the new rock wall was discovered by codes, and on the 27th is when we issued a red tag, a stop work notice. The Planning and Zoning Commission, being duly appointed, shall receive, hear, and make final determination on this variance request. The decision of the Planning and Zoning Commission can be appealed and by an aggrieved party or person to the Board of County Commissioners. The subject property is 0.7 acres and it's located within the T3 neighborhood zone. It's surrounded entirely by a T2 zone, and then access is from the 3 Saints Road, which is a county paved road of 40 feet right away. I looked back at the EBID comments as well as building services, and we wanted to review those. The license for the culvert crossing provided access to the property expired in 2009. The variance will not be approved until the owner contacts the EBID for a new license. Building services did issue this comment. They deny the request for an accessory dwelling. During the pandemic, the building services department was in full operation. I lost my place. With permitting and inspections. And number 2, the rock wall requires a permit. New Mexico engineered drawings and structural analysis. The permit will be charged 3 times the original amount per 179-19C. There will be an investigation fee when whatever work for which a permit has been commenced without first obtaining a permit. A special investigation shall be made before a permit may be issued for such work. The fee shall be $45 an hour minimum for being charged. Based on the results of this investigation, if a building permit is allowed, the applicant will have to comply with all requirements of the building services for permitting and inspections, and the permit will be assessed 3 times the amount for the work of the permit, per 179-19C. For the applicable plans, policies, and criteria for the approval, the variance will not constitute a grant of special privilege inconsistent with the limitations on the other properties in the area of notice. Number 2, that the variance will not be detrimental to the public health, safety, and welfare, or materially injurious to properties or improvements in the area of notice. Number 3, that there is a physical hardship resulting from the size or shape or the parcel of the existing structures on the parcel or from topographic or physical conditions on the site or in the area of notice. And the hardship is not self-imposed. And number 4, that the variance upholds the purpose and intent of the chapter. The public safety and welfare are secured and substantial justice is done. Our findings, that number 1, the primary dwelling measures 2,253 square feet. The accessory dwelling measures 2,740 square feet, and it's in a T2 zone. The maximum where a maximum accessory dwelling is 1,250 square feet. Granting of this requested variance of 1,497 square feet over the permitted accessory dwelling, it would be a grant of special privilege. Aside from the mobile home park at the corner of 3 Saints and Joy Drive, there are no other residential areas as dense as the applicant's 1.7 parcel. For number 2, that the variance will be detrimental to the public health, safety, or welfare and will be materially injurious to the properties or improvements in the area of notice due to the fact that construction is taking place without the DAC, Doña County inspections. Therefore, Doña County Community Development has recommended a complete building service inspection for both the primary and accessory dwellings, which were constructed without permits. Number 3 findings, that there is a self-imposed hardship resulting from various issues on the property. The size of the accessory dwelling, because it's basically the same size as the primary, it's self-imposed hardship. Due to the overall constructed size, the new rock wall has not been permitted and encroaches an existing canal, which confirmed here recently by EBID, it's not part of the 3 Saints West lateral, so there's no problem there. For findings number 4, the granting of this variance will not uphold the spirit and intent of the UDC to create orderly, harmonious, economically sound development in order to promote the health, safety, and general welfare of the residents of the county. Having 2 primary dwellings was not the intent of the UDC. For the staff findings, we're going to go back. The request of this application is consistent with the requirements of 350-207 variances of the DAC UDC. For 2 findings, the property is outside of any incorporated municipal zoning authority and within the DAC. Therefore, the Planning and Zoning Commission, it has jurisdiction to hear this case. Pursuant to 350-104C2, the Doña County Planning and Zoning Commission, it shall receive, hear, and make final determinations on applications for variances, special use permits prescribed by, and subject to procedure established in the UDC. The notice requirements have been prescribed as well in the public hearing and approval. The variance request meets these findings. A, that the primary dwelling measures 2,253 square feet. The accessory dwelling is 2,240 square feet. In the T2 zone, the maximum accessory dwelling size is 1,250. Granting of this requested variance over the permitted accessory dwelling size, it would be a grant of special privilege. Aside from the mobile home park at 3 Saints and Joy Drive, there's no other residence this dense. The variance will be detrimental to the public health, safety, and welfare of them and will be materially injurious to the properties and improvements in the area due to the fact because there were no Doña County inspections or permits pulled. Therefore, the Doña County Community Development has recommended a complete building services inspection for both primary and accessory dwellings. There is a self-imposed hardship resulting from the various issues on property. The size of the accessory dwelling is larger than, actually it is larger than the primary dwelling. It is a self-imposed hardship. Due to the overall constructed size, the new rock wall has not been permitted and possibly encroaches an existing canal. And granting this variance will not uphold the spirit and intent of the UDC, which is to create orderly, harmonious, economically sound development in order to promote health, safety, and general welfare of the residents of the county. Having two primary dwellings was not the intent of the UDC. Therefore, for our staff recommendation, based on the findings and facts, staff analysis and variance meeting 35207B, findings in the UDC in compliance with the variance request, the staff recommends denial of case number V23008 with added conditions. As stated, that one, they have to produce plans and engineer drawings for an unpermitted rock wall. Two, we're gonna have to permit rock wall with a triple fee. Three, renew the culvert crossing license with EBID. As well as number four, come into compliance for all unpermitted structures, and as well as get an approved NMED septic permit. If it's approved, the Community Development Department recommends that the applicant and representative work closely to get the residents under compliance in order to receive a CO. The applicant shall also pay a triple fee, which is 3 times the permit fee of $2,469. This concludes my presentation, Chair, Commissioners.
So on that triple fee, there were two things that had to be met in terms of triple fee. One was the building permit, the other one was?
The rock wall?
And that equals $2,469?
No, the actual fee itself for the $2,469, the permit fee is of $823, but because of the triple fee written in the ordinance, it comes out to that. The fee permit, if I'm corrected, Albert, that's the price of the permit?
I think what's being depicted on the PowerPoint is just the building permit for the
For the accessory dwelling?
proposed home. So in reality, it should be a triple fee of all required permits.
The rock wall would be in addition to
There'll
that.
be an additional one.
Additional. And the applicant and his family are here as well today, so they can receive questions.
Let's hear from the applicant.
Good.
Good morning. Please state your name and address for the record.
Good morning. My name is Joel Pichardo. Address is 29003 Saints Road, Anthony, New Mexico.
Do you affirm the testimony you're about to give today is the truth under penalty of law?
I do.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hi, good morning. I want to say that the construction of this property was during the pandemic. If we remember correctly, a lot of government buildings were closed at the time. At that same time, I remember that we had to get the Social Security renewed, and they were closed. So the main reason why we started this building without a permit was basically because we did some research and it seemed like it was closed. So we started this construction without the permit, basically for that reason. And now the purpose of this construction was to kind of easy the burden of the pandemic that was causing on everybody around us, not only us as a family. So I don't know if you guys have any questions. I could answer the questions that you might have.
Lynn, do you have any questions?
I think I might have one question. It's Joel, right?
Yes.
Joel, you indicate that you started without a permit because of the pandemic. I understand your reasoning, but did you make any effort to approach the building official or inspector of anybody to ask them what would be a solution to working like that? Did you make any effort to do that or not?
We did. It was basically after the pandemic. Before starting the construction, we did some research on what the requirements would be. One of them was a special septic tank, so we had to get the permits for that. So even before we started the whole construction of the house, we did some research on that. So once they approved the septic tank to be built, we continue with the construction. Now, we were the ones that approached to get the permit. We didn't receive any notifications when we started the construction. Basically, we were the ones to came basically to fix this issue, kind of like to resolve the problem.
So did
Okay, so you didn't make an effort to speak with the county
Yes.
about a required permit?
Yes, we I don't remember correctly what the department was, but we went to, I guess, the septic tank. No. What are it's the department that tells you what you need to, like, as the size of the house, the requirements you need for a sewer.
There is paperwork from 2016 and 2022, 2021 for septic tanks. So they did approach NMED for that, for those permits. I was just, I did a place on there as number 5, approved to have an approved NMED septic tank because of, I was responded by NMED that they didn't have one. I do have one, but I just wanted to confirm that that's the correct
So
one.
they do have a permit for the septic?
They
tank?
do for both, correct. They do. So there was an attempt on their end before that, but then that's when the pandemic did occur.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Thank you. Are building services people here?
Chair, we do have Patrick Henry. He's one of our building inspectors here. I'm not sure if Sean Big is on the phone right now or.
I'd like to have him come up and answer some questions for me, if that's possible. Is Sean at? Okay.
Will, we're gonna have Sean Big call in right now to the meeting.
Mr. Chair, I have a question for staff. I see under staff recommendation, you have a list of 5 conditions. I guess my question is if the applicant met all those conditions, would then this be brought back for approval of the variance?
No, it would basically be a conditional approval on the variance itself. So, I mean, unless the applicant wasn't able to meet those conditions that were stated or, recorded in the order, then the variance would be void.
Okay.
Typically, there's also, when there's conditions such as these, there's always also like a time frame, that the commission might feel that's appropriate in order for the applicant to comply with all the conditions. So it's a combo of, number of conditions and a time designation for the applicant to meet those conditions as well.
So this is a little confusing because you're recommending denial with added conditions.
Correct.
So what's the point of the conditions if we're going to, if the commission denies the variance?
Chair, the way I'm looking at the conditions, it's like he still if the variance is approved or denied, those items 1 through 5, they still have to be met. He still needs to get a building permit for the rock wall. He still needs to, bring in proof of EBID or a crossing permit, to cross that canal. So those items still apply, whether or not he gets the variance.
We're looking for some level of compliance. At some point, there needs to be a level of compliance, and I feel that we could add number 6, a time frame that if this were denied, there still is a time frame that they still need to produce engineered drawings and plans and permits for the wall.
And what's the time frame?
That's something I think that we could talk with the applicant, or even if the commission had an idea.
Okay.
We do have Sean Big on the phone.
Okay. Sean, is there anything, I guess we have to swear him in, don't we, Eileen?
Sean, can you hear us? Please state your name and address for the record.
Sean Vick, 845 North Moto Boulevard.
Do you affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth under penalty of law?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Sean, anything in general that you want to make a statement about?
Well, we seem to be going through this an awful lot lately with, asking forgiveness as opposed to following the proper protocol and allowing these things to continue. And, the whole thing about, nothing was open during COVID and they didn't know this and that, it just doesn't work anymore to say. So, if you want to approve this, and that's the commission's, position, then there's a lot of requirements that they're going to have to be met on my time. I just don't know if it's going to be, if the building is going to be salvageable or be able to meet code, the foundation, or what else is going to be involved until we do an investigation.
Mr. Chair, can I ask a question of the building official?
Certainly.
Sean, can you tell me, did the applicant make any effort to contact you regarding the question of required permits, and could they start, anything like that?
No, sir, not at all.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
So, let's see, Charlene? No, you didn't. Albert, did you? Oh, no, Chris, you did. I'm sorry. Can you pull up the images for a minute? So, go back one. So, is that the existing dwelling on the property?
The existing dwelling is here in the front, built in 1900.
And what's
Here, and this is the dilapidated shed.
okay?
And then this is the new accessory dwelling.
Oh, wow! So it's that far along.
This is the proposed dwelling that's been constructed that you just looked at. This is this has not been added yet, but there's a garage. And then this is the existing dwelling. Excuse me, this is an existing dwelling here. This is where the updated garage, I think, is planned once this is removed.
So, Sean, is the garage isn't part of the habitable structure, so that's not counted in the square footage, is it?
No, sir.
Mr. Chair, I have a question. Chris, on this, I noticed that this photo was taken April 15th of this year. Has there been further work on this structure since then?
From the outside? From the outside, we can't tell from the outside other than the rock wall that was found.
Okay.
So there hasn't been any construction on the actual dwelling that we've seen. And I've been out there once, and then we also had an electrical inspector go out there to red tag, and he said he hadn't seen anything change from this image other than the rock wall.
Okay, thank you.
So,
If I can ask staff a follow-up to that, and perhaps Sean too, I noticed that there's an electrical red tag. Now, in the vernacular of that term, normally there's something deficient about the electrical system. I understand the stop work order, separate and standalone, but Sean or anyone, is there a basis for a red tag based on the electrical conditions or just unknown electrical wiring?
Commissioner, it is basically, Riley is the electrical inspector plans examiner. And so any one of my inspectors, they just basically issued a red tag for the entire project, not necessarily the electrical. We have no idea what the electrical wiring, the condition of it is, or anything else regarding that structure.
So everything could have been concealed, wiring, devices, et cetera, could have been concealed. Is that correct, without inspection?
That is correct, without inspection. And that's why my recommendation was, if staff decides to approve this conditional, then we're going to have to do an investigation similar to the one that we did on Tierra Road. The last case we had for an unpermitted structure, similar to that is what we're going to have to do.
so what are you gonna have to
Okay,
do?
thank you.
You have to cut into the wall?
Yes, sir. Commissioner, it would depend on what we find out there. They may have to remove all of the sheetrock, insulation, so that we can look at grade stamp on the lumber. We could look at nailing pattern, ensuring that the electrical wire is secured and run properly. So there's a lot of work that that may have to be done, and we try to be as least invasive as possible, but we have to ensure that the intent of the code is met for the entire structure.
So do we know, it's a 0.7 acre parcel?
0.7 acre.
Is there enough room for two dwellings with a septic field?
They have the existing septic on the front of the house, the original house, the primary, I'm sorry. And that is, I think, under a driveway now. And then they did have enough room for, I think it's a 40 by 60 ponding area to the back right by the fence. I think there would have to be some calculations done on the percentage of what was built on the property of being 0.7 acres, but there are 2 septic tanks on there, and it looks like a sufficient amount of room, space.
Okay. Yes?
I just want to comment on what the inspector said. We were the ones to reach out to this department, basically to fix the whole issue and continue the building of this property. They never went once during the pandemic to stop us from building. That's basically what we're trying to say.
Who did you,
I spoke to Shan once we got the structural engineer and the one who drew our drawings for the whole planning, because he's the one that put us in contact with him. Basically, he told us, okay, this is what you need to do to continue the building of the property. It was somebody outside the inspection, the county that pushes to the right direction. And I was making the effort of compliance with the requirements to build continue to build in this house, basically. It was something that we did first. We were not approached by an inspector. Even during the rock wall, somebody else did it. We didn't do it. We hire a contractor to do that.
so do you have rock wall up or sheetrock up inside the house?
No, only, so there's 3 rooms that do have sheetrock. Most of it doesn't have sheetrock, because when we started the electrical process, they couldn't get the permits. So that's when we started the whole fixing issue, working along the department. Now, we stopped all construction from the house. We haven't touched the house at all. Like the house, if they go and they want to do an inspection, we're more open and willing to do, because the main goal is to continue the construction with the help of the department, of course. So we meet the expectations and the requirements.
Okay, thank you. Chris, let's put the recommendations back up.
Um,
Can you email Elaine?
yes,
Somebody say, hey,
Mr. Chair, this is Lynn Underwood. I am not able to hear anything. I'm not sure if you can hear me or not.
Yeah, we can hear you, Lynn.
Commissioner Underwood, can we hear you?
Lynn, can you hear us? Lynn? Did we lose him?
This is Will in IT. We currently lost Commissioner Underwood online. I think he's trying to get back on.
Okay, we'll have to wait because we don't have a quorum without him. So, Sean, are you still there? I guess we lost him too. So what's, Albert, Chris, one of you guys, Charlene, somebody, what's the implication of denial? Do they have to tear down that structure?
Chair, Commissioners, well, let me see if Lynn's back up. Commissioner Underwood?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. The question was, what happens if the variance is denied? Well, I mean, there's a couple of options that are going to be available to the applicant. The first one being, of course, he can always appeal to the Board of County Commissioners, for a different decision or approval of the variance. Worst case scenario, yes, he might have to, tear down the new dwelling. Or, he's gonna have some hard decisions to make. I mean, because he's still allowed to have one primary dwelling on the property. He does have a secondary dwelling that was built there in the 1900s, so another possible option might be to, decide which one are you gonna tear down or which one are you gonna, make into an accessory structure instead of an accessory dwelling. So, just off the top of my head, I think those are the three main options that he has. One would be to appeal to the Board of County Commissioners. Two would be to completely, demolish the home that was built without a permit. Or three, decide, with which home on the property are you gonna move forward with? The one that's existing, or, try to get the one that's there in non-compliance permitted, and then designate the other one as an accessory structure. But that would mean having to completely, take out, anything that would make it habitable on there, so.
And if, Mr. Sheriff, I can ask staff a follow-up question to that.
Yes?
Staff, and it could be Sean, I'm not sure if it's Albert or Sean, the things I just heard from Albert primarily link with zoning. In other words, can there be an accessory house, et cetera, or a second full house? But the other question would be the decisions or the options to completely tear down, et cetera, et cetera. Isn't there an option to be able to allow, if certain things are approved, even as accessory and things that are built without permits, is there a way to allow the applicant to maybe have a complete analysis by an independent engineer to allow certain things to go on without having to completely demolish the structure?
Chair, I think, or even Commissioners, I feel that that's also a tight discussion of heated space versus not heated space. I feel that that could be an interesting conversation of allowing the structure to remain, but still removing heated area, because that's also a big sort of part to that, is that it's a lot of heated space, therefore those are rooms. The top.
I got it.
The top
I
floor, I
understand.
feel, can go to a patio, or, you understand? So I think that's a valid question or a valid conversation we need to have.
So if the second story is unheated, what's the square footage then?
Then, Albert, if you can correct me if I'm wrong, isn't that also unlivable space if it's not heated?
I mean, we would have to look at the floor plan and what the intent of that second floor is, without that information, it would be hard to tell. But Commissioner Underwood, if there was some type of conditional approval, yes, I mean, the applicant will basically have to hire engineers to assess the conditions of the home and see if they're going to be able to meet the building code.
I mean, you don't even know if the foundation is adequate.
Right. Got it. That answers my question. Thank you very much.
Yes, please.
We did hire a structural engineer. He recommended to do some adjustments so the structural would be approved, basically, based on his findings. We had an structural engineer go out there along with the person who draw our plans. So he has a letter of approval stamp with his, because he saw that, the concerns that they have.
Did he put his stamp on that, on those drawings?
Yes, as long as we did the adjustments that they needed for the structural to be supported.
But it hasn't been inspected by the county?
Not by the county, only by our structural engineer.
But that's a requirement, isn't it? We have to inspect the foundation?
Yes, I mean, that'll be part of the process. But just keep in mind, I mean, building services, they're not really going to go out there and start doing their inspections unless they know for sure that, the variance is gonna get approved, conditionally approved, or some type of approval. Once, they know for sure that's gonna happen, and that's when all the, the revisions to building permits and engineering reports are gonna take place. So basically, right now, they're on standby to see what happens, or to see what the outcome is of the variance request.
And for the, what is it called? What did he just say? For the cement, there's places where you could see the foundation of the house, which is like thick enough. We have some dimensions that we discussed with the structural engineer, because as well we hire somebody to do the foundation of the house.
Okay.
Okay? Yes. Come on up to, and you have to be sworn, they have to swear you in.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Joel Pichardo, 2900 Saints.
Do you affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth under penalty of law?
Sí.
Thank you.
Sí. Nomás para mencionar que ayer hubo un temblor, o sea, en un área muy grande, creo llegó hasta ruidoso, hasta Ciudad Juárez, en Anthony, en Chaparral. Y muchos de los conocidos nos dijeron de eso y en nuestra casa no pasó absolutamente nada, o sea, la fundación está muy fuerte.
He mentioned that the earthquake that happened yesterday, a lot of our relatives said that they felt a lot on that. He inspected the construction that we built, and nothing basically happened on it. So the foundation is pretty well constructed or built, basically. He just wanted to mention that.
Okay. So here's the problem that I have. From the Planning Commission's perspective, this is a land use issue.
Mhm. Yeah.
The question of how to resolve this from the Planning Commission's perspective should be denial.
Right.
Because it's about the variance and not the fact that they've built the building and has all these the issues with the building permit and all the inspections. That's not our concern. I mean, we can put those conditions on there, but that's not our concern. Our concern is the land use. I think that this actually should be kicked up to the county commissioners. I don't want to kick the can down the road, but they have a bigger set of issues to deal with than just land use. So, that's right. Yeah. So, what I'm trying to say is the plan. You can translate this for your dad so he understands. The issue for us is land use, and the variance is permission to violate the ordinance. That's what it means. The county commissioners can look at it from a bigger perspective. So what I would suggest is that as a commission, we vote to deny with the conditions that have been laid out and have them appeal it to the county commissioners. Lynn?
Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, I'm in complete agreement with you. I wanted to make sure that the understanding was there that if we did happen to approve it based on land use, that we would include all these other conditions, because the simple excuse of COVID is not an adequate excuse to build things without permits or without any stipulations like that. So I am in agreement with you.
So in the record, I think it should show that we were basing our decision on the land use relative to the variance, which is a much narrower focus than the county commission might take.
One question. If it doesn't get approved even with the county commissioners, what would happen then? Like basically.
I don't know.
So basically, we were allowed to build a $15,000 septic tank because it was a special tank because of the size lot. If I guess somebody would have stopped us there, we would have not continue with the whole construction, right? So even if we go to the county, there's still a possibility that they're gonna deny this construction, correct?
There's a possibility, yes.
Now, how would that make sense for anybody? If they're the ones in charge of keeping basically this before it's even built. Like I said, we were the ones that came to you guys to fix this issue. And now you're telling me that after all this money was put out, after all this time, there's still a possibility that it's not gonna be permitted, basically.
Well, that possibility existed when you came before us. So it's simply a matter of moving that responsibility to the county commission because they can use a different perspective than we can. Our focus is land use.
Correct.
And what you're asking us to do is to violate our own ordinance. And what that does is set a precedent for other applicants.
Correct.
So if tomorrow somebody builds a structure and they come before us, they can say, you approved an applicant on this parcel that came before you 2 weeks ago.
Correct.
Right?
Now, wouldn't it be that work of the department to avoid that from happening again? Right?
No, it's not. It's up to the applicants to make sure that they're in compliance with the rules and regulations of the county.
Okay. So basically, your decision would be deny it, so we move up.
Wait, listen. That's my view.
Okay.
I don't know what the commission's going to do,
Okay.
I'm just telling you what my view is.
Yeah, but based on what you guys discussed, it would be to appeal to the higher ranks to see the.
You have that right. If we say no, you can go to the county commissioners.
Correct.
Maybe.
All right, thank you.
And remember, here, we advocate for property owners and we have to protect property rights. But our main concern is the community at large, everybody, and how we treat everyone. At the county commission, you have an advocate because you have an elected representative from your district that can actually speak on your behalf. We can't do that here, right? Because we're appointed for the whole county, not by districts. So I don't know, who's the county commissioner?
Diana Murillo is Anthony, I think.
Is that who it is?
Yeah, she's mayor of Anthony too, right?
Yes. So you can have them speak on your behalf.
I guess if I could just make a comment, sort of backing up what Commissioner Zerniak is saying, it's very clear what the square footages are in the law in the UDC. And if you're using structural engineers, other consultants with your businesses, they should be aware of that. That engineer that you had check out the building and approve that foundation for you should have been aware of the fact that the building you were putting up was almost double what is allowed under the law. And that, I mean, it just makes it tougher for us. We're sitting here trying to look at the law and enforce it, and it's very clear what the law says, 1,200 and something square feet. You've got a building there that's 2,700 square feet, roughly. Somewhere along the line, someone should have said to you guys, hey, wait, you're out of this. And you wouldn't have even needed a variance if that building was only like 1,200 square feet. So I just, we have to look at that perspective as well as the precedents that we're talking about. We just did this a couple of weeks ago, the same thing. The people had gone ahead and done it, and we had to deny the variance because of this, that square footage. It's clearly stated in the law, in the code, and should have been checked before he broke ground on that building.
So is there anyone here in opposition? Eileen, did anyone sign up? No? Okay. Anything further? All right, I need a motion.
I'll make the motion. I'll make the motion to approve the variance 23-008 with the conditions as stated by the staff. Plan engineered things, the rock wall triple fee, review the culvert crossing. In other words, bring everything into compliance with the UDC and the other regulations.
Mr. Chair, for the protocol, I will second that motion with the announcement that I would be voting against this motion.
All right. Anything else?
Call the vote.
Eileen?
Eileen?
Commissioner Underwood,
No.
Commissioner Lear,
No.
Commissioner Zargis,
No,
Chair Zerniak.
No. Thank you. So you need to get with staff and to figure out what you would like to do next, okay? Thank you.
reasons for voting no.
Administrative approvals,
Yeah, Chair, we have none for this meeting.
okay. Staff input? Anything? Christine?
Mr. Chair, we do not have any input today.
Okay, thank you. Commission input? Okay, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you,
Second.
thank you.